Hello everyone, this is Darren's Brainwaves, and today I was just going to discuss some of the thoughts and ideas I've had about utilizing the sun's energy to do some different things. They've sort of been done in the past a bit, but I was thinking to make it more feasible for the everyday person, some methods that you could do similar things at a smaller scale. So if you've ever worked around solar hot water heaters, you'll learn very quickly that they can generate an obscene amount of heat. The sun is incredibly hot and full of a lot of energy, and of course solar panels that we know of now often are only 16-18% efficient. As of now, they're of course improving and things are becoming better and better, but solar hot water heaters often are more around 90% efficient. But I had a thought a while back I was thinking if you exchange the water for oil, you could definitely heat it a lot hotter before it would start boiling, because often with our solar hot water heater that I installed here, we'll boil off 5-10 gallons of water a day. Even with all the hot water we're using, we try to use a lot of it. So that we don't have as much boiled off. But with that in mind, it got me thinking that potentially if you had like an oil, you could heat it up to a hot enough temperature where you could have a separate tank with essentially a coil running in it where you could circulate the hot oil into it, and that oil could transfer its energy into the water, create steam and a higher pressure, as well as be able to run a turbine to generate electric. And since you could utilize this energy in the daytime or at night, it would make it essentially a battery where you'd store the energy in heat form. You could have like an insulated tank, but it turns out that there's some liquids. I was doing a bit of research on it, but I didn't do enough research to figure out exactly what they were made of, that can stably be at like 1,000 degrees without really an expansion or contraction, and are very stable liquids, and those can circulate into like a tank full of gravel, and the gravel, of course, or rock, can hold the temperature of 1,000 degrees with no trouble. And hence you could have a system where that you collect solar energy and turn it into direct heat because of being able to insulate it using the evacuated like tubes. And glass apparently's melting point is, I think I looked it up, was somewhere near 2,000 degrees or something like that. I forget exactly what it was. But anyway, it was plenty hot that you could even make a lot of the tubes still out of glass and wouldn't need as many of the expensive high nickel alloy materials like stainless steel for the system. You'd still need a fair amount to ensure that everything is operational safely and has a long life expectancy. But also another interesting thing is, if you've ever looked into, of course, the Tesla turbine, he claimed somewhere around, I think, a 90-some% efficiency, and as of now, most of the turbines that we have, turbines, often only achieve about 30% efficiency in that range. And one of the issues they've always pointed out is that the Tesla turbine worked at around 10,000 or higher RPM. So it only would be feasible in a small scale because, of course, as you get a bigger and bigger turbine, the centrifugal forces become greater and greater as the diameter of the wheel increases. You have a lot more forces pushing it out, more than what the metal can handle. So if you were able to have a much smaller scale turbine that potentially could be a lot more efficient, you may be able to achieve a much higher conversion of electricity from the heat to electricity, potentially, than even using solar panels as we know it. As well is a huge benefit of being able to have electric on demand because of the stored heat energy. And something like that I could see being a relatively smaller system I wouldn't expect it on a small house or anything, but I assume that it would be feasible to do in small factories or shops or things like that. Malls might want to have a system like that to produce power, and of course it could be grid tied as well when there is extra power. And they could also choose to give them better rates if they dumped the extra power that's stored up at peak times when it's most needed. So anyway, I hope you guys found this interesting, the idea. I think there's definitely a lot of room for research and development into the heat aspect of things. It's amazing on how many things that are just around us every day. We throw out a lot of energy that can be collected. There's some like air conditioning, of course, is byproduct is heat, and often we just blow that into the air, and then we go and pay for hot water. So you're like, that makes a lot of sense. But anyway, there are systems that different companies have that will solve those problems. They just haven't been implemented correctly. So I hope you guys have a great one and enjoy the food for thought. If you have any thoughts or questions or ideas, throw them my way. I always find it interesting. You guys have a great one.